Welcome back to the Urban Elementz studio. I don't know if you can tell, but I listen to music when I'm out here by myself and I dance around by myself in the studio. Got to do something to pass the time. Anyway, it's time for block number 8 of our dog park and alley cat competition. I have the 2 blocks pulled out, and I believe I have the right background fabric with each of the 2 blocks. I'm going to pull the camera in so we can actually see what it is that I will be doing today. We're going to do it in real time again because these 2 blocks go together so quick. I think we just have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Is that 4 more? Or is there 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We only have 2 more after that. And then I'll do a video of assembling both of the quilts, and hopefully by then, oh my gosh, I hope, I will have my IntelliQuilter set up, and maybe we'll actually get to see some digital quilting on these. That's my goal. So we're going to move the camera, and then we'll get started. This is always my favorite part because it's always just my belly that you get to see. Probably not one of my best features. We have the 2 blocks with the background fabric and the kit, the little block kit for each one. And these kits are available individually also if you wanted to just do a pillowcase, a small wall hanging, a large card for somebody, or a piece of printed art. These would also transfer very easily onto cardstock if you wanted to frame them for a wall or something. They also could go on a book bag or a backpack, lampshade, just about anything you wanted to fuse them onto. We have them fused on wood, and we have fused them on glass, like I have my big cookie jar in the back. So there's a wide variety of things that you could actually put these on aside from just the fabric. But the fabric's what we're going to be doing today. So I think I'm going to start with the alley cat. The cats always take a little bit longer, not a whole lot, maybe 2 minutes, just because of the whiskers and the little freckles here on their muzzle. So I'm going to start with the alley cat this month first, and I'm just going to pull everything out of the packaging. You have to kind of be careful a little bit because sometimes the little components, especially those little ultra suede pieces, will get stuck in the bag because of static cling. Each month you'll always see the instructions. They go over all the step-by-step information for the block, as well as a full-size pattern and a cover photo in color. So if you have any questions about what a piece is for or its placement, you can always see that. I like to fold that right over the edge and make sure that my crease is completely out of the paper so that there's no distortion on the piece. And I can slide that aside. And then I also like to just go very slowly and put these pieces pretty much in the order in which they're going to appear on the applique before I get started. That's the head. We have all these little freckles. I always want to do this before I get started. You can see here that the eye is a little bit larger than the freckle. That's the pupil of the eye anyway. So we'll get those over. Should always be 6 freckles. We have the outer ear and the inner ear. And I'll check those against the pattern in a second to make sure I have them in the right side. You never know with me where I could put something. What is that? The nose. And I don't know if I'm calling these anatomically the correct piece, but let's see. Nope, I had that on the wrong side. So that goes over here. which means these go over here. I have my two eyes. And one of the things you can always do if you want to get really accurate placing is to, on some of these compound pieces that might not show through as well, you could go ahead and do those off of the background, and then when you have the compound piece in its location, then you can go ahead and put the compound piece onto the pattern itself. It just helps with some of these because you get to the point where you have so many layers, it's hard to see through where a piece actually goes. So now I can lift up that whole ear piece, and all I've done is peel off the paper for the inner ear. I haven't peeled off the paper for the outer ear yet. I can do that when I get to the actual pattern. And I keep hitting my light button. I can do the same with the eye. And the ultra suede pieces, out of all of the items, the pre-cut items, are always the trickiest to get the paper off. I think I fumble more with those than anything else that we have, any other shape. I'm using the heat of my thumb to get that to stick. Even after I get that paper off, it wants to stick to my thumb. So now I can go ahead and pull those two compound eyes off. I could do the same with the muzzle since it has pieces on it that might be hard to place. And the head goes in the back. You can see just how easy that paper peels off. All of these component pieces are laser cut, so they're very accurate. I think the laser cutting also tends to seal the edge of the fabric a little bit better than cutting with a pair of scissors would. The heat of the laser actually burns through the edge of the fabric without causing any scorch marks, and that's the craftsmanship of a good manufacturer. So I just about have all of my component pieces in place, so I'm going to remember to put my background piece down, and then I can just start peeling the paper off of the back. And if you ever have problems with this paper coming off, you can just score it with anything, like I always have a flower head pen here stuck to the side of the ironing board, but that way you can peel off, it gives you an edge to start peeling that paper backing off. The product that we use here is Steam-A-Seam 2. And let's see if we can get this going in the right direction. I rarely have to use the needle, the pen, flower head pen, except really as a demo tool, because I have pretty good luck getting the papers to just peel off. Now that may be a product of my climate here, but you know, that may affect where you are, but here I don't seem to have the problem, and my little inner ear just fell off, but I think I can still get it. And this is just a matter of paying attention to which piece goes down first on the applique. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. This must be this way. Okay. There, I had my head upside down. And that happens a lot in real life too. Quite often I have my head in the ground and I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. This one's going together pretty quick because we have put some of those component pieces together. And my bigger eye is over here. I'm going to go ahead and continue working on this, and we'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I was getting a phone call and I had my phone on mute, but I am expecting an important phone call, so I had to check. But of course, guess who it was? It was not my important phone call. It was somebody wanting to check on my car insurance to make sure that my warranty was still up to date. So I've to the tricky part of the cat block each month with all of these little dots, which are hard for my big thumbs to deal with, but with a little bit of patience each month they get on there. Because the edge of my light box is black, every once in a while I will lose one of my little black dots on the edge of the light box, which is always a trick trying to find it again. Every once in a while they get stuck with static cling on the inside of the packaging, and one time I even found one on the floor. It was upside down with the white backing facing up, and my tile is kind of a light gray, so that was actually one of the times where I had to get down on my hands and knees and scope around to see where my little dot had gone to. Because the ultra suede pieces are a little bit thicker, it takes a little bit longer with the iron for the heat to pass through. And that's also a good reason why I always like to fuse both from the front and the back of the block with the iron if I can. I know that's not always possible if you're doing it on glass or something, but in some cases where you can't use an iron on a product, you can use a blow dryer and then just keep the keep like a tea towel handy to press the applique down onto the surface with. You can see how carefully I place those, and they still get shifted a little bit. These ultra suede pieces are the ones that you really want to watch just before you fuse to make sure that they're still where you want them. And that's also why I like to use the pressing cloth, is so that I don't bump them with the side of the iron when I'm being lazy. Our office is in the process of being moved. Be moving from Texas back to Florida, so that will be interesting in the next few months. We also have our new website up, so we're going to have some videos on that. And this is it for the actual placement on the alley cat block number 8. I'm going to go ahead and set this one aside carefully so I don't shift my ultra suede pieces, and I will get the block set up for the dog park. So we'll do the same thing here. We're going to unpackage the dog park block 8. I always save my bags. I don't know what on earth I'm saving them for, but I feel like I have to keep them. We have our full instructions to give you all the step-by-step guide to how the applique works and how to assemble it and fuse it. We have our full-size pattern, paper pattern, in each kit. This allows you exact placement for your piece, but also would allow you to reproduce this if you wanted to do your own with cutting fused fabric, or with cutting or doing hand needle turn applique if you chose to do that. Now, if I were going to do needle turn applique, I don't think I would do those little tiny freckles with needle turn, because those would be hard, but some people are really good at those little circles. Again, I'm going to go ahead and put my pieces down in place and see how I do with my ears this time. That's that one. And that's it for the dog park. That's all the pieces. So I can go ahead and get my fabric onto the pattern and turn my pattern or my light box on. And you can see that I used the newsprint fabric for the back of my dog park. We thought that was cute because dogs get potty trained on newsprint. And also, quite often you'll see in the old shows anyway, man's best friend would carry in the newspaper for his owner. You don't see that too much anymore in the TV. And I'm not that old. I've just heard people talk about it. So don't say anything about that. We would absolutely love to see, if you're doing the dog park or the alley cat, we'd love to see what kind of background fabric you chose and the progression of your blocks. But actually, I would love to see photos of any of the applique Elementz items that you've made over the years. Probably a lot of them you've gifted, but we would love to see what you've created and how you've utilized the product. So always feel free to post photos on our wall of anything that you've created using one of the Applique Elementz designs. It could be one with the laser cut and pre-fused applique, or just one of the patterns, because so many of them are available as SVG files, which means that you could use a Brother Scan and Cut or a Cameo Silhouette, download the pattern, and cut your own fabric at home. And I'm just going to lift this up a little. You could use your own fabric at home and then create our design, but with your fabric. Also, you could print self-print files at home and use your own fabric and do needle turn or hand applique. Oh, I always feel so relieved when that paper comes off the back of the Ultra Suede. They're a little bit too small to do my little pen trick. I don't know that slicing it in the middle would make it any easier for me. It might for you. And just like that, we have the two blocks all in place. They're not fused yet. This Steam 2 is tacky to the touch, so you can see that for the most part the pieces are in place without shifting. It's the ultra suede that would pop off if anything. But I'm going to go ahead and switch out my light box and get my iron turned on, and I'm going to pull out my Teflon pressing sheet also, so I can get these ready to fuse, and then that will be the final step on these two blocks. That is just how quick it is to do these laser cut and pre-fused block projects. I have my two blocks. All of the components are just lightly placed on the background fabric. I'm going to double check all of my ultra suede because those are the ones that will shift. If anything's going to, it's going to be those. So I'm going to make sure that the eyes are where I want them. The Steam 2 does require a steam component when fusing. So whether you're using an iron or with a blow dryer, you're going to have some kind of moisture. I don't typically put water in my iron. If you don't have water in the iron, it can never leak. So I just use a little spray bottle. This one I happen to have one of our tattoo samples on the front of the bottle. But it just has plain water in it. I'm going to go ahead and mist the components. And I don't really worry about exactly how much water I'm putting on there, because not really a big deal. And I'm then going to close up my Teflon pressing sheet so that it is both underneath and on top of the applique. And I started doing this religiously because a couple times when I was ironing, rather than pressing straight down and lifting up, I had gotten lazy and I just pushed the iron to the side on top of the fusible. And what I did was scrunch up the edge of one of my applique shapes, and then I fused it. Before I knew it, you can't unfuse it then. So when you get to this point, you want to make sure that you do have things where you want them and you're not crinkling up the edge. So I'm just going to go ahead. I have my iron set on a cotton setting. The Teflon pressing sheet is going to add a few seconds to your heat time because the heat has to travel through the Teflon pressing sheet in order to get to the fabric and the adhesive. You cannot overfuse Steam 2. If anything, you're going to underfuse it. If you have gumming on your needle when you're quilting, or if you are one of those people that like to top stitch some of your components, if you get gumming on the needle, that indicates that you have not fused long enough during this step. And after I get this fused from the top down, I'm going to flip my blocks over so that some of those compound pieces, like where the nose is on top of the muzzle, on top of the neck, and then on the background, I want to make sure that the heat is transferred to all four of those layers. So I'm going to flip it over to the back, and I will remist and refuse to make sure that we have gotten this fused properly. If you do fuse properly at this point, then this product is completely permanent and can go through, regular wash cycles and the dryer without any problem. We do not top stitch our shapes in our applique. What we do is machine quilt them if it is a fabric sample, and then we would that would be the end of it as far as any process that needs to happen. I'm going to go ahead and remist, especially where the applique shapes are. And this time I don't need to have the pressing sheet because there's nothing for me to catch the edge on. You can hear my iron sizzle when it hits the water on the pressing sheet. And I know that if the iron has gotten the fabric dry, that it pretty much has fused the fabric as well. And just like that, our 2 blocks are finished for month number 8. So that is the wrap up on our block number 8 on our dog park and our alley cat. At the time of the filming of this, we still had blocks available for both sets, the 10 blocks of each one. Those could be purchased individually. We have the paper pattern that can be downloaded if you wanted to do hand cutting your own fabric. We have SVG files that can be downloaded for all of these patterns, so that you could do individual blocks using a Cameo Silhouette or a Brother Scan and Cut or any of those types of cutting machines that work with the SVG files. That way you could use your own fusible product or your own fabric and make the blocks, really personalized to you. We have full kits available. The kits come in these really nice packaging. It has the overall instructions for assembling the whole quilt, as well as all of the individual block components for the fabric. The only thing you'd have to add is your background fabric and your sashing, later on the batting, the binding, and the backing. So these are all still available, and I think that's everything I have to say on the topic, but I'll probably say it again next month. We have 2 more months left for finishing the blocks, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a video with putting the blocks together, and then hopefully getting each of these quilts quilted up using the IntelliQuilter and different panto for each of the 2 patterns, since they are quite unique. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again probably next week with another video of some kind. And we have our long arm series that we're doing and some of the patterns. And I think we're also going to be doing some short videos on our new website, just to give you an overview of any of the changes that may have happened there. So thanks for stopping by today, and I'm going to get back to my music and some more dancing. See you soon.